Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna. Nice to be with you all again. Today we're going to look at 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. This chapter is considered the most confidential knowledge. But to understand that, first you need to understand what is confidential knowledge. And then you can understand most confidential knowledge. So first, let me find my place. There we are. Everyone likes confidential knowledge because they like to be included in the deepest understandings. Whether at your workplace or in your studies, if someone gives you confidential knowledge, you're very grateful. So this verse from Bhagavad Gita, text number 1, is building on the foundation of the confidential knowledge Krishna gave you in chapter 2, which is you're different from your body and mind. I know many of you would think in that way by sentiment or by tradition or even by intellectual analysis of your own personal situation. Yes, it's true. By intelligent discrimination, you can figure out that you are different from your body and mind. So that's confidential knowledge, actually introductory knowledge. But you have to go further. So what Krishna is particularly giving you in this chapter is the most confidential knowledge. Now that you should understand that you are spirit soul, what are the activities of the spirit soul in perfection? This is the material world. What about the spiritual world? In the material world, body consciousness predominates. So what about the spiritual world, where there is simply spiritual consciousness, bodies made of spiritual consciousness? Just like here in the material world, the bodies are made of flesh and blood and bones. So Krishna wants to give this knowledge to you, but there is a particular requirement. And as you know, most people struggle with even the confidential knowledge. What to speak of the most confidential knowledge? They can't understand they're different from the body and mind. And as long as you're trapped in thinking you're the body and mind, you must surrender to body happiness as the all in all. And body happiness includes the mind. That will be your life. But in case you haven't noticed, although you have the desires to be happy, material nature is always blocking your happiness. Material existence is always thwarting your plans for lasting happiness. Sometimes you get a little bit, right? And you become very confident. Oh, I've got a little bit. We don't think that the reason why you have a little bit is because material existence is obstructing, blocking your lasting happiness, your permanent happiness. So you're forced to just have a little bit. And for that little scrap, You work so hard, tolerate so much, just to get a little scrap of temporary happiness. One great devotee, Prahlada Maharaja, at the age of 5, realized all these things, and he was telling his schoolmates, Sukham hi tucham. The happiness of material existence is so insignificant. What happens if you're in Australia or India and a fly lands on your shoulder? Do you fall apart? Oh my God, a fly landed on my shoulder. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, my whole life is upset. No, that's insignificant. You brush it off, or even just move your shoulder and keep on doing what you're doing. So this is how Prahlada Maharaja describes the so-called happiness of material existence. Sukham hi tucham. Insignificant, like a fly landing on your shoulder. But we're so desperate because we don't know anything about spiritual happiness. We're so desperate for just the scraps. Maybe you haven't seen any hungry, starving dogs in Australia, but in India you see all the time. And you just throw some scraps and they jump on it. And if any other dog tries to share the scraps, they fight. We are reduced to that kind of existence. Competitiveness just for scraps. Competitiveness in the workplace. Competitiveness at the university. Competitiveness against others to get the points for PR. In so many ways, we're like creatures sniffing out and fighting over scraps. And we don't think what is blocking our happiness, our lasting happiness. And that is material existence, which is temporary. Material existence enforces upon you temporariness and insubstantiality. There's no substance there, it's just a shadow, but we don't know any better. So the intelligent person feels a sense of futility. That means, what's the use? But I have to push on. That's what you conclude, because society is telling you, don't give up, don't give up. In very special moments, you may think, is there another way of life? Then everyone around you urges you onward. You've got to get more. When you get more, you'll be more happy. You know, in the Shastras, especially the Upanishads, there's an example given of 2 birds on the tree. The tree is compared to the body, and one bird is the living entity, the other bird is the super soul, the supreme consciousness. One bird, the living entity, is trying to enjoy the fruit and is suffering so much. The other bird is untouched by material existence. The super soul, Paramatma, is untouched by material existence and is observing the foolish living entity. Trying to give counsel. Don't do this. You'll never be happy. Turn toward me. And what do we say? Career first, career second, career third. prosperity equals security unendingly. In this way, we totally buy into the illusion of material existence. Now, someone yesterday was asking that, well, what about what he started to call the real world? Actually, he should have said the false world, the mirage. Yes, Krishna will teach you how to deal with that mirage. Who is a better teacher than Krishna about how to handle the mirage of material existence? Because the material energy emanates from Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is giving you information from the source of the illusion, how to make the best life in your temporary body in the temporary world. So again, please think about this point. I want to be happy. I want to feel good. I want to be satisfied, but something is always blocking that. You may remember when you were young, you were thinking, when I'm older, then I can do what I want. And then when you're old, you're thinking, oh, if I were younger, then I could do what I want. Always something. If I'll marry, then I'll be happy. And then you marry. Oh, if I was independent, then I would be happy. There's this special laddu. You know about this special laddu? Yes, they have it in Delhi or where? This special laddu that those who haven't had it, they lament. And those who've had it, they also lament. You've had this laddu, Arjuna Saka? Do they sell it in Delhi? Nityananda Priya, you've seen it anywhere? You can't resist it, but you can't digest it. So what Bhagavad Gita is helping you with is the unfounded, unnecessary faith in material existence. But then you're a little afraid that if we let go of our faith in material existence, what is left for us? What do we do? That's why we need to know about the most confidential information, spiritual activities, how to use your mind and senses for Krishna's pleasure. That is bhakti, devotional service. So let's look at text 1 of the 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge. You can repeat after me. Not coming? No? Okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guyatamam Prabhaksyam yanasuyave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajgata Mokshase Shubhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So this is a very important discussion we're having, because when we discuss Krishna's words, the Krishna information, special potencies are released in the gathering. This is stated by an incarnation of Krishna, Kapila Deva, in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido, talks about Krishna and the knowledge that Krishna gives are full of spiritual potency in an audience that is sincere. This doesn't happen amongst persons who simply think Krishna is mythological, or Krishna is an ordinary human being, or someone gives an academic analysis of Krishna. No. For those who want to take Krishna straight, as he explains himself, special potencies are released. And you become enriched, you become nurtured and nourished in spiritual life. So I would say that this audience gathered here is of the beginning quality for experiencing how talks about Krishna can expand your life beyond just the trap of material happiness. Yes, you should work to maintain yourselves, maintain your families, but is that all there is? Is that it? So many creatures can do that. The kangaroos, you see more of them? They're maintaining family. The mother has a pouch, yes. So yes, there's nothing special about just family maintenance, especially if the family lives simply and has as its main focus the devotional service to the Lord. We have many families who are helping out with this weekend. The husband is here, the wife is here, even with a little child. Or sometimes the wife stays home with the little child, but the husband is here helping to create a wonderful time for you. They're families, but they have Krishna's service in the center. And they qualify to go deeper and deeper into the science of Krishna. Just as Krishna here is telling Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me. What does it mean to be envious of Krishna? Have you ever been envious of someone? Raise your hands. So why were you envious of that person? What do they have? It means they have something you want. Like what? Who can say? They have the wealth you want. They have the money. Just say it clearly. Or what? They have the PR that you want. Just like I know one devotee, I don't know if she's here now. Chittamohini Devi Dasi, are you here? Yes. You can be envious of her. She got PR even before she left India. She got an invitation even before leaving Noida. You have PR, even before she left the country and arrived in Australia. That's someone to be envious of, right? And when you're envious of someone, you try to come up with some reason to diminish their glories. Her father probably bribed. She has no qualification. That's the nature of envy. You always want to diminish the other person's glories because they have something you want, but you think they don't deserve it. So what does Krishna have that we are envious of? Krishna has everything and everyone. And he simply asks us to engage in his service. And we get everything by engaging in Krishna's service. In fact, for the most elevated, pure devotees, Krishna will even give himself. Just like we finished the month of Kartik, celebrating Mother Yashoda, binding little Krishna with a rope. That's Krishna coming under the control of her pure love. That's the perfection of bhakti. We're envious of Krishna because Krishna is the supreme controller. We'd rather avoid Krishna and worship the devatas because we think we'll get some cheap and easy benediction from the devatas. Whereas Krishna, who knows? Krishna only gives spiritual life. Who wants that? We're envious. Why Krishna and not me? And we show that envy every day in our material activities, which mean to control and enjoy. That's what material existence is all about. Beyond survival, and I'm sure everyone here doesn't want a subsistence life of survival. You expect more than that. You can just imagine some of these young men when it's time to marry, since they all yesterday said they don't want to be brahmacharis. So when it's time to marry, you talk to the father of the young lady, and he asks you, so what is your plan for your life? And what does the young man say? My plan is just to survive. What will the father of the lady say? Let's get out of here. My plan is just to subsist. We want more than that, and that means we want to be able to control and enjoy. And therefore there's competition and struggle, but we're willing to struggle with material nature for that. And even though we just get scraps, as I just described earlier, that's all right. It's better than nothing, right? And who knows anything higher? Who knows anything better? That's what I was thinking. I remember my last year at Yale University. I had studied, going on the 4th year, looking for the solution to all material problems. And I realized there is no material solution. So I thought, the way material life is the way things always will be. There's nothing better. What can be done? You might as well get into it because there's nothing else to do. Maybe some of you have quietly concluded in that way. There's nothing higher. So what can you do? And then you excuse yourself by saying, what do you want out of me? I didn't make the world this way, right? I'm just a bystander, just trying to survive and be a little happy. What can I do? But if we analyze our activities, we'll see that we're envious of Krishna. Instead of serving Krishna, we want to serve ourselves. But in the process of serving ourselves, we end up serving so many masters, serving our body, serving our mind, serving our lust, our anger, our greed, our envy, serving our boss, serving our lecturer, serving the government, serving our spouse, serving our children. Some of the service we like, and some of the services we don't like. But the fact is, we are serving. But what happens when Krishna says, serve me? Maybe when I'm 70. We have so many families here who are serving Krishna as their number one priority. They're not starving. Shamsund, are you starving? His parents have raised him nicely in Krishna consciousness. He's going to the university, specializing in what kind of engineering? Civil engineering. But what is the core of his life? The core of his life is Krishna. That's all Krishna's asking for you. He doesn't ask you, you must become brahmachari. Sometimes this fear is there that as soon as your tongue touches the Hare Krishna mantra, immediately your clothes turn into saffron. Yes? Does that fear? Most of Krishna's devotees are family persons. The saffron people are rare. You need a few of them, yes? Just like at the university. How many students will become lecturers? Very few, but you need a few lecturers. So the university goes on. But most students will not become lecturers. Do we have any university lecturers here? One. Oh, what field? Biomedicine. Which university? Monash, yes. So you know that of all the students you deal with, how many are going to become lecturers? Not many, but you need some. Yes, to keep the learning going. So similarly, those who wear saffron, they are the specialists. They keep the wisdom and the wisdom culture alive. That's their full-time occupation. They don't have any other job. In this way, because they have no biological family, no employment, they can focus completely on the wisdom culture, distributing the wisdom, teaching the wisdom. But most bhakti practitioners, following what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, will be family persons like Arjuna. Krishna never told Arjuna, drop your family, put on saffron. Krishna never said that. Krishna urged Arjuna to engage in Krishna's service according to Arjuna's ashram, according to his family situation. That's all. But we're so afraid. Oh, what does Krishna want from me? Better to worship the devatas. Bribe the devatas and get some little material benediction, which doesn't work in this day and age because you don't have the resources required to worship the devatas properly, and you don't have the brahmanas who are skilled in reciting the ancient Vedic mantras perfectly so that the devatas are pleased. You don't have any of that. Just like the Rig Veda. which contains many mantras for pleasing the devatas. In order to master those mantras, you have to learn them backwards and forwards and pass them down in that way so that there's no deviation in the sound. Everything has to be perfectly pronounced. But the Hare Krishna mantra is not like that. Krishna is so merciful in this age of Kali, this age of dense darkness, that he gives you the Hare Krishna mantra, and there are no strict pronunciation rules, ritualistic rules, rules of yajna, none of that. Because those don't work in this day and age. But people, because they want to avoid Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they pretend. It's just pretense only that they can actually do some rituals to please the devatas. This is envy. So Krishna is telling Arjuna here, because you're never envious of me, I'm going to teach you. How would you like to explain about yourself to someone who's envious of you? You wouldn't do it. You would avoid that person. Can you imagine such a person, an envious person, telling you, you know, I hate your guts, but can you please teach me about yourself? I can't stand it that you are the controller and enjoyer, but please give me confidential knowledge of yourself. You would never do that. You are a person, and Krishna is the supreme person. So he's telling Arjuna, I'm going to impart to you this most confidential knowledge and experience of that knowledge. Knowledge of spiritual activities. Because some people think, okay, we're not the body, so when the body is finished, the spirit soul just becomes merged into the oneness, loses its identity, just enters the void. They speculate like that because they have no idea of the spiritual activities in the spiritual world. But Krishna is going to point Arjuna in that direction. And then in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, you get all the details of the spiritual world, all the details of spiritual activities. So what about the miseries of the material existence? Krishna says, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. What do you think? Is material existence really miserable? What someone could say to you, what's the problem? Just work harder, study harder, get to know the right people, be in the right place at the right time. Miseries of material existence? What comes to your mind when you think of miseries? Huh? Waking up early, misery. Huh? What time do you call early? Huh? 4. And why do you wake up at 4 in the morning? What? Because of studies or what? What kind of seva?
Sometimes japa or sometimes.
Oh, waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning for Krishna seva. That is the greatest.
No, for the study.
Huh?
For the study.
For the study. So yes, waking up in the morning to study is miserable. But why are you studying? Huh? You say he's studying to get the PR. Maybe he'll say he's studying to get wisdom. No.
This for completing the assignments and not getting scolded by my parents.
For completing the assignments and not getting scolded by his parents. Therefore, you have to get up 4 a.m. And it's miserable, right? You'd rather go on sleeping. Well, but your real parent is Krishna, Krishna Pita. And your real mother is the Vedic literatures, Veda Mata. What about them? You've had so many mothers and fathers in so many lifetimes. So which one are you trying to please? Which mother and father? In what lifetime? The miseries of the material existence can be understood very simply. You want lasting happiness, right? And it doesn't happen. That's miserable. But then we say, even though it doesn't last, it's something. This is what fools say. This is how fools think. The human being is meant to inquire into lasting happiness. The human being is meant to inquire, why is material nature blocking my ongoing happiness? You just get a little glimpse, a little bit, a little scrap. You don't get the full meal. Why? So Krishna promises, when you know this most confidential knowledge and you experience it, you'll be safe from the miseries of material existence. You'll be safe from believing in material happiness. That is India's great contribution to the world, the wisdom of lasting happiness, which cannot be had if you think you're the body and mind. If you think you're the body and mind, that means you must strive for pleasing the body and mind, but you're not the body and mind. Feeling social respect, social appreciation. Oh, my daughter's wedding, 1,000 persons came. That's a kind of bodily feeling, a subtle mental feeling of prestige, the best, better than all the rest. How long does it last? How deep and satisfying is it? So Bhagavad Gita is teaching you to totally change your vision of what is well-being. Instead of the scraps, focus on the full meal. But we're very stubborn. So what does Krishna say next? Text 2 of the 9th chapter. Repeat. Raja Vidya Rajaguyam. Pavitram idam uttamam. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. Sasukham kartum avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So you see, there is religious faith, which means just some belief. And then there is the actual Raja Vidya, the king of education, the perfection of religion. That means knowledge and the experience of the knowledge. So Krishna is inviting you to enter the bhakti laboratory, not enter into blind faith. Krishna is giving you the tools to verify him and his existence, and then you'll get the experience. Just like when you start to every day chant the Hare Krishna mantra, prescribed, it's the script given in the Vedas for perfection in this day and age. So you want to experience you're different from the body and mind? You want to rise above material happiness and distress? Start to chant Hare Krishna every day and you will see. See for yourself. So you would say, well, if it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it? Not everyone is interested. Not everyone cares. And remember what Krishna said in the preceding verse, because you are never envious of me. The main problem of the material world is envy of Krishna. Why should I hear about Krishna? Why should I chant Krishna's name? Who is this Krishna anyway? This is envy. What's Krishna done for me? This is envy. And then you try to minimize Krishna. He's just one of the devatas. There's Indra, Durga, Shiva, Surya, Krishna. So you minimize him by mixing him in with the minor city officials. And then what else do? You present Krishna falsely as some mythological person or a very powerful human being. You think of him as, who's the greatest Indian cricket player right now? Used to be Sachin. Who's the latest? Yeah. Oh, there's some contest? Who is the... So you say Krishna is like him. This one is the most powerful cricket player now. Krishna, similarly, he's like the most powerful athlete. This is envy of Krishna because you're not listening to what Krishna says about himself. So your success in life, the whole world's success in life depends on understanding Krishna. But we don't want to do that because of envy. When we say, no time, too busy, that means envy. Like we were discussing with one of our guests yesterday. He said, I have no time for chanting Hare Krishna, working all the time, simply working only. And I said, what about social media? Oh, okay. What about watching cricket matches? Oh, okay. What about Netflix? Oh, okay. So the king of knowledge, the most confidential knowledge, goes beyond just understanding you're not the body. That's not enough. It's necessary, but not enough. But most persons don't even get to that entry point of understanding they're not the body. But Krishna wants to take you past that gate into the world of spiritual activities, chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in kirtan, tasting food that's been offered to Krishna, hearing about Krishna, talking about Krishna, engaging all your energies in Krishna's service. Just like if you look in the kitchen tent, you'll see devotee master chefs working hard with energy and bhakti and devotion to offer to Krishna wonderful food, and then you can take it as prasad. So they're using their energies, they're using their skills for Krishna's pleasure, and you can taste the results. It's not ordinary food. And we're not having ordinary talks here. As we said before, in an assembly that's sincere, when you talk about Krishna and Krishna's information, special potencies are released. And you start to understand what is real dharma. Your real dharma is not simply making money, marrying, having children, buying a house, having property investments. Your real dharma is service to Krishna. So yes, of course, you can marry, you can have children, you can buy a house, have investment properties. That's all surrounding your core purpose, which is to serve Krishna. So this is the most confidential knowledge. How to use even the material world in service to Krishna. Someone was asking me the other day, well, Swami, you have turned your back on the material world. I said, what do you mean? I'm wearing clothes, I have a watch. Here, I'm using an iPad. How have I turned my back on the material world? What I have turned my back on is pretending I am the supreme proprietor and controller and the supreme enjoyer. And I'm trying to use everything for Krishna's pleasure. Otherwise, what need do I have of anything? So I have an iPad, you see? Material. Everyone can see? But what's on the iPad? Is Bhagavad Gita. So there's this fear that if you become a Krishna Bhakta, if you become Krishna's devotee, you can't do anything in the world. But I pointed out to you yesterday how this whole weekend has been made possible by devotees who are working hard to please Krishna, to give others the chance to hear about Krishna. So they rent this place for the weekend, they prepare so many meals, they arrange everything, transportation, all to give others a chance to hear about Krishna. So they're not turning their back on the material world. I see there's a few big buses out there. So please feel peaceful and feel confident that you can do what you're supposed to do. You can engage in Krishna's service, and then you'll be truly happy. Sasukam kartum avyayam. Not the temporary happiness that comes and goes, but you'll be training and educating yourself for the happiness that has no end. That is possible. Now you might say, well, how long does that take, Swami? So what if it takes all your life? It's the greatest wealth, the greatest gift. And what's the use if you spend your whole life, which is very short, if you spend 40 or 50 years trying to rise on the corporate ladder, and then at the time of death, you're kicked out. But whatever progress you make in bhakti, you carry onward with you to the next life and start again from there. Of course, you can become so qualified, and the opportunity is there, that you go back to Krishna at the end of this life and not repeat birth and death again. Either way, you're successful. But if you get everything you want materially, what's the use? You're going to lose it. And when you lose it, you're going to feel worse than you would feel if you never had it. You've ever met someone who it seemed they had all the material happiness, all the money. They had a spouse who was perfect for them, but then the spouse died, the money was lost. Oh, they're crushed. It would be better that they never had those things, because they've had those things and then lost them, they can't handle it. You've ever met persons like that? This is how pitiless, how cruel material existence is. But we want material existence. We're embracing material existence. Be mine. Fulfill me. Satisfy me. So the greatest wealth, the greatest gift that India gives to the world is the wisdom and experience of life beyond the body, happiness beyond the body and mind. And that wisdom comes directly from Krishna. All right, any questions? Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I've got a question. Since it's been like millions of years when the Satyug started, means we haven't done bhakti in those millions of years? And only in this life we're performing bhakti, Krishna's bhakti?
We can't say where you were in the previous lifetime. Maybe some different planet, some different universe, some different body. But what you can do and what you can be sure of is look in the mirror when you wake up in the morning. If you see a material body, you know you made a mistake. So try it tomorrow morning. But if you see you have a human body, yes, you made a mistake because you have a material body, but the human body is a special gift meant for understanding Krishna, for enlightenment, for self-realization. And if you misuse that gift, why should nature give it to you again? Better you be a kangaroo, wombat. They have families, they work. They try to enjoy their senses under the dictates of material nature, though. So seeing in the mirror that you have a human body means seeing a great responsibility. In fact, the greatest responsibility. Yes, in the yellow?
So there is a belief that the world goes in the cycle. So every time there is Satyug, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, and sorry, I forgot the fourth one. But like everything happens over and over again in the same manner. So doesn't that mean I've been enlightened once in my previous cycle, all the previous cycles?
It could mean that the reason you're here today is because you made a start in your previous lifetime but never finished.
I'm
talking about right now.
Okay, but still
But what are you going to do right now? That's the question. How does understanding what happened thousands of years ago help you now?
it's not that what I want to find out is why everything goes in circle. Like if you have been enlightened once,
If you're truly enlightened, you won't be around for all these cycles. You'll be with Krishna.
but the book says everything is
Everything
over.
material.
Yep.
As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, bhutra bhutra paliyate. This material manifestation is created again and again and again.
So every time there is a new batch of souls or something like that.
No.
The thing is
You know what a carousel is? A merry-go-round?
Yeah.
You didn't get on. Where are you from?
I'm from India.
I know. Where?
Delhi.
Huh?
Delhi.
Delhi.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Very, very sophisticated. Everything material goes around in cycles, but you are a spirit soul. So your real business in life is not the cycles. It's to become attached to Krishna. Then you're no longer on the cycle, on the carousel. Everyone knows what carousel is, merry-go-round. When you're a kid, you love it to ride on the carousel. Just going round and round and round. But the adults, no, it's just all the same thing. But the adults get pleasure watching the children on the carousel. Have you ridden on the carousel? Our little friend there? Did you like it? Why? Because of the speed? You just like going around. Did it cost money? But you didn't have to pay for it. Your mother paid for it, right? So just for you to go around and round on the carousel, someone had to struggle. She had to earn the money. But you're just thinking, oh, it's so nice going round and round. You weren't going anywhere. Did your mother get on the carousel with you? Do you think she was happy? Yeah, she was happy watching you. She could see, I've struggled to earn this money, and now my little child is happy for 2 minutes. Right? So what were you riding on the carousel? A horse?
No, it was like, yeah, so there were little carts.
Little carts, yes.
Yeah.
And you were sitting in what? Well, was a cart going up and down?
No, I was like, yeah.
Huh?
It's vertical.
It's vertical. It was going up and down vertically? Or while the carousel was going around?
Well, it's like a merry-go-round. So it's like, it goes up, so the structure is vertical, and you go in circles up and down vertically.
Future engineer. Were you making any progress? No, you're just going around and round. So similarly, that is the answer to your question.
Thank you.
But now that he's older, you don't go on the merry-go-round anymore, right? When was the last time? How old are you now? Now you know better. This is boring, just going around and around. But when you're a foolish little kid, you think, oh, exciting. Mommy, put me on the merry-go-round. You ride with me too? Do you think that without you, your mother would sit on the merry-go-round? Unlikely. Because she knows better. This is boring. So when you have knowledge about material existence, you know better, and you don't go round and round in these cycles. You understand? But you have to tell me, what are you going to do for yourself about these cycles? Don't ask me about thousands of years ago.
Over again. So there's a story of have you heard of you have heard so
Which story?
so when Yama came for Ram, the Yama, the death, god of death, came
What
for
is-
Ram.
Huh? Yes, Yamaraj, yes.
When he came for Ram, so Hanumanji stopped his, like, came in his way and didn't let him take him. So like Ram dropped a ring somewhere, like so like the end of story was very simple. Like
But wait, you have to tell me what's the point you're trying to make?
so Ram is an enlightened.
I know about Ram, but what about you? I'm worried about you.
So Ramji, who is an enlightened soul, he has been born over and over again.
Who? Who's been born over and over again?
Ramji.
No.
It says that like that.
No. So first you need to educate yourself in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he comes again and again, but he's not under the influence of the material energy. Okay?
Okay.
So you please get Bhagavad Gita this weekend.
Yeah.
All right?
We'll definitely-
Then you'll understand Krishna, you'll understand Ram, you'll understand Yamaraj, you'll understand the cycles. Okay? Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, thank you for the wonderful lecture. But I had this question, like yesterday you mentioned about like everyone has an inner box inside them, and everyone lasts for eternal happiness, and they want something more from life. But there are some people who hear about Krishna, and I've heard it multiple times that Krishna is all attractive, and why don't people, like, there are some people who start believing just by listening to Krishna, and there are some who hear about him, who experience him, and still don't feel like there is something like Krishna. And
Everyone is at a different place in their spiritual development. Maybe in your previous lifetime, you were one of those who, I don't want to hear about Krishna. But you said Krishna. I don't want to hear about Krishna. And Krishna in your heart said, okay, you don't want to hear about me in this life, but you did say my name.
when Krishna is so merciful, like even if we say,
Yes, Krishna is so merciful, therefore you're here.
yeah, like that is why I was a bit confused, because there are some people who are surrounded by, like, who hear Krishna, because Krishna is very common. Like you hear his name wherever you go. There are some people who are always around. They are devotees distributing books. But why the people are not taking interest in it? Why are they so blind?
They have their independence. Krishna is the supreme independent, and his parts, the living entities, have a tiny bit of independence. Otherwise, how can there be love without independence, without choice? You want to be forced to marry someone?
No.
So why should Krishna have forced love? You don't want it. You want to feel that someone has chosen you because of your fine qualities, right? Well, Krishna actually has fine qualities. And so, therefore, he's giving you an opportunity to choose him. Without choice, the power of choice, there can be no love. It's not that Krishna has a gun in his hand and saying, come here, love me, be happy.
Thank you, Maharaj.
You're married now or single? Suppose eventually you'll marry, right? And suppose after 10 years of marriage, your husband says to you, let me tell you the truth. The only reason why I married you was because I was forced to. How would you feel?
Like really bad.
Really bad. And then because you're the younger generation, you would say, okay, divorce. Right? Because you want to feel that someone voluntarily chose you. So Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He knows how to get the best love. the best love comes from free choice. So he gives you a tiny bit of independence to choose him or not.
Like previously you said that Krishna is the, like, Maya comes from Krishna.
Yes,
So Krishna is more stronger than Maya.
of course,
Then why we are stuck in this material world?
because you
Why-
don't listen to Krishna. Just like for a little child, the parents know more than a little child. But if the little child doesn't listen to the parents, what can the parents do? Very simple. You are part of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna has unlimited independence and you have a tiny amount. The drop of seawater has salt in it, just like the ocean. But the saltiness in a drop of seawater is very little. So you have the qualities of Krishna in a very tiny amount. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
The medical man.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today. You mentioned a couple of times the geographical location, per se, India, is the origin of not just the knowledge, but the wisdom of the way of living life. My question to you is, what went wrong to that geographical location? I would say the Eastern civilization, that we lost the way of living a spirituality.
What
And
went wrong where?
what went wrong to that part of
Which
the world?
part?
India,
Oh.
or at present India, by then I would say the Eastern civilization. So what I'm asking you is,
Western civilization never had it to lose. But go on.
yeah, so, and you happen to visit India, I would say several times. And
Several times.
and
Try
you-
150.
I'm not sure about the India, but you know Indians better than me. And my question to you is, what went wrong to these Indians? And that's like, we are seeking, where it's got diluted, the way of spirituality, where it's got
As I explained yesterday, the main problem is this concoction of Brahmana by birth that has brought disrepute upon the Vedas, the Vedic lifestyle, upon real Brahmanas. This Brahmana by birth concoction is just business, squeezing out the competition. I was born in Brahmana family, you are not. Brahmana by qualification means never mind what your birth is, where you were born, or who your parents are. If you show the qualities of a Brahmana and the activities, then you are a Brahmana. Just like you are a lecturer in biomedical science. Suppose I say, well, I'm also a lecturer in biomedical science. Why? Because my father, he was a specialist in biomedical science. Automatically, I'm qualified. You would just say, sorry. What are your academic qualifications? Let us see your publications. What journals have you been published in? So this notion, this concoction of Brahmana by birth is the main problem. The other problem is not taking Krishna's words straight, but interpreting them according to your imagination. The Sanskrit in Bhagavad Gita is very straightforward and clear. But if you are envious of Krishna, you avoid that straightness and you manufacture your own meanings. So those two things have created such havoc in India. Okay?
thank you.
Yes. Yes.
How do you handle those situations? Hare Krishna Maharaji. How to handle those situations in your life that does not comply with spiritual or bhakti yoga?
Give me an example, please.
So, For example, if maybe your parents say to marry someone who does not believe in Bhakti Yoga, but you actually have to marry just because maybe you want to satisfy your parents. So it's just a situation, just how to handle such situations.
We have many devotees in that situation, and they can advise you. It's not my particular field of expertise. So we have many devotees like Nityananda Priya. He's a successful Krishna conscious family person. You can ask him what to do. These things happen. Your parents insist you must marry this person, and the person has no spiritual interest. How do you handle that? So we have mentors who can guide you through all these minefields. Okay? Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Swami. My question is around the same line. Since I'm going through different forms, my soul is traveling from one form to another. Since I just want to answer for this form at the moment, what do you think is the meaning to life? Like, if I've taken up this form, what's my meaning in this life?
You have a human body, you must revive your connection to Krishna. The part must exist in harmony with the complete whole.
But
That is what Krishna is telling you in Bhagavad Gita. Yoga means to connect, to link. But to connect to whom? To link with what? Huh?
But this soul also has that curiosity to find knowledge, seek knowledge, different sort of knowledge, just to experience it.
That's not the soul. The soul is full of knowledge. That's your material mind, which will waste your time if you pursue it.
Yeah.
When you were a little kid, did you play with a kaleidoscope?
Yes.
So and now you understand it's a time waster, right? But when you were a little kid, you were, oh. Ladies also play with kaleidoscopes or just men? Yes, they're saying yes. Yeah. But you don't do that now, right? How old are you?
30.
30. We don't find a 30-year-old man holding the kaleidoscope and, you know better.
Yeah. But I do still have the curiosity to find, like, not kaleidoscope, maybe see a telescope to see the moon. So that curiosity is still there. Would you say that?
But even better is to find out who is the source of what you're seeing in the telescope. That you should be even more curious about. Okay?
Yeah.
So there are different levels of curiosity, different priorities. So yes, you can look through the telescope with your imperfect senses and try to understand what's going on in the universe. But even more important is that you try to understand who is the source of all the energy. That Krishna will tell you in Bhagavad Gita.
So would you say that since my soul is going through different forms, most of the knowledge that is consumed is of no use?
Exactly. Give him a special lunch plate. Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So we'll meet again this evening. What comes next? A drama.
Hare.
How long is it? Oh, very good. So I thank you all for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.